back by lunchtime to enjoy a latte and pastry at one of the quaint cafes. A quiet life of countrification, she and Jamie had called it in the days when they used to laugh. But nothing the town had to offer brought her any pleasure now. The antique shops she once loved to browse in seemed only to be full of other people's junk. And while the cherry blossoms lining the meandering paths around the Shire had once seemed beautiful, they now appeared gaudy and fleeting. She knew she ought to shower and dress, go out and get some groceries and read the paper and talk to people, try to engage in the activities that made up her former life. But it was so much nicer to curl up by the window and let the warm rays of the sun embrace her in a drowsy haze. Katherine lay lost in her dreams for the better part of the morning, till a text message from Jamie dragged her back into the present. "How's things? Been for that walk yet?" For fuck's sake, she thought, the corners of her lips tugging downwards. Always checking up on me. She replied with a smiley face and walking emoji. Happy, active, nothing to worry about here. Then trudged upstairs to the master bedroom. Pulling on some tracksuit pants and a sports t-shirt, she braved a second glance at her reflection in the wardrobe mirror and frowned. God, she was so gaunt. Her shoulder blades sharp and collarbones jutting. All those hours she'd spent at gym classes or out running, years of her life probably if you added it all up, and now she looked like a scarecrow. Leaning forward, she examined the creases around her eyes and mouth and noted the ever-widening path of grey regrowth through her ash-blonde hair. She reached into the wardrobe for a baseball cap and jammed it on her head. Jamie had bought her new running shoes a couple of weeks ago and she laced them up reluctantly. They made her feel like a fraud. She was no longer the sort of person who could step out the back door and run for a couple of hours. These days it took a mammoth effort just to get from the lounge to the bedroom. She'd go around the block, then at least she could tell Jamie she'd been out of the house. That ought to be enough to please him. His determination to get her outside was starting to piss her off. As she walked onto the veranda and felt the warm air engulf her, she almost felt better. Almost. She was halfway down the front path before she realized she'd forgotten to lock the door. It was a small thing, but enough to destroy her already shaky resolve. She stepped off the neat stone pavers and onto the lawn to dirty her sneakers, then returned inside and slumped back on the cushions at the window seat. Sometimes the darkness in her head was so dense that not even the tiniest pinprick of light could enter. At those times, she was conscious of nothing but the desire for death to take her too. She longed for the day that the overwhelming, heavy feeling that started in the pit of her stomach and moved up to her heart and lungs would engulf her so completely that she never had to wake up and remember what she'd lost. So she remained by the window for the rest of the afternoon, stirring only as the sun was going down when Jamie texted to say he'd pick up some takeaway on the way home. She forced herself to get up then and moved around the house, closing curtains and switching on lights, stopping in the bathroom to splash cold water on her pale face. At dinner, she served herself a spoonful of pad thai noodles and moved them around her plate. "I went for a walk this morning," she told Jamie. "It was nice to be in the sun again. Everything looks so pretty." "Where did you go?" Katherine took a large sip of her wine to hide her grim smile as his gaze rested on the grass-stained sneakers she'd deliberately discarded in the corner of the living room. "Just around the block. It'll take a while before I'm up to doing much, but a little each day will help." "It will," he agreed. "You used to love being outdoors before. You always said it lifted your mood." She was struck by the word he'd used, before. Their whole lives were now neatly...